Welcome inside the vault. It is a post-game live stream for you on the 28th of September. Week 4 of this NFL regular season is in the rear view, and I think for a lot of you, probably best that it's in the rearview mirror, because that one, Sarah, I think constitutes this live stream as a rock bottom therapy session. We're going to try and give you all that and more, make sense of what we just watched unfold in Kansas City. Sarah, the Ravens dropped to 1-3. This is the worst case scenario so far through the first 4 weeks. They lose to the Chiefs 37-20 in a game where, aside from the opening drive where they methodically marched down the field with Derrick Henry and Lamar managing the game and great run blocking and everything else in between, didn't necessarily look like they belong on the same field as the Kansas City Chiefs, and that is going to be a tough pill to swallow. John Harbaugh just met with the media a short while ago, answered a number of tough questions, and Kyle Hamilton has issued an apology. We'll get into all that and more over the course of the next hour plus. Your super chats are starting to pour in. There's a lot of reaction, a lot of emotion. We will get to as many as we possibly can tonight. Partner, this was a clunker, and I don't even know if clunker does it justice.
It doesn't, because clunker to me sounds like a one-game problem. This is the season. It sounds dramatic after 4 weeks, but Bobby, it's not just the score. It's not just the score of 37 to 20 and one kind of garbage time touchdown here. It's the fact that you got beat down again with no sign of life. Injuries are mounting. 7 defensive starters out by the end of this game. 3 offensive starters out by the end of this game. Oh, and including your franchise quarterback, Lamar Jackson, with the hamstring injury. But Bobby, the Ravens can't even use all these injuries as an excuse, because they've been playing poorly, to put it mildly, well before these injuries started to mount. They begin the season at 1-3. Kansas City is dancing around, having fun, saying, "Woo, we told you we were going to be okay." I hope their celebration is what they hope it is, what they think it is. Against this Ravens defense, everybody's going to have a get-right game. Patrick Mahomes had a get-right game, whether all those defensive players were lost any or not. They were going to have a get-right game against the Baltimore Ravens. The last time the Ravens opened up 1-3 was 2015. Bobby, I remember covering that season. Joe Flacco, then starter, ripped his ACL. They went on to win only 5 games out of 11. I don't know if Lamar Jackson's season is over. Sounds like it's not, along with these other guys. He's the only one that can maybe salvage the season, but here's the question that every single Ravens fan is asking themselves. Even if Lamar Jackson comes back, even if Roquan and these other guys, will go through all these injuries in a minute, even if they come back, and even if they resurrect themselves through a softer part of the schedule, because we knew this was going to be a gauntlet, does anybody have any reasonable expectations with this team to compete in the playoffs? You don't even have that. And so here we are in week 4, saying the Ravens season is already in dire straits. The coaching was horrendous on top of the injuries. The execution was horrendous. And if you're Steve Bisciotti and you see, maybe you give him a couple games, I don't know what he's thinking, but if they can't get this turned around, he's going to have decisions to make, because you can't continue to watch by idly and watch this young man's MVP, 2-time MVP career continue to go to waste. You can't keep saying, "Oh, well, let's get him next year." We've done that since 2019. "Oh, it's such a good roster, we'll get him next year. Oh, it's such a good roster, we'll get him next year." This is why you say Super Bowl or bust every year. What a terrible attitude coming into this season. Because every year is Super Bowl or bust, because you don't know when the opportunity is going to come back again. Now you have 7 defensive players down, 3 including Lamar Jackson. Maybe a lot can come back, but cut this out. It's Super Bowl or bust every single season, and you can't keep seeing this young man's career go to waste.
Yeah, I don't think John Harbaugh should be judged on player availability from a health perspective, but I think we could both agree, and I'm not saying that you said that, but I think we could both agree that he should be judged on player performance in a sense from a preparation standpoint, be judged on performance to a certain extent when it comes against the AFC elites after mowing down their competition in regular season play for the last several years throughout the Lamar era. And unfortunately, the latter of those two consistently has fallen short of the mark when it comes to the Kansas Cities, the Buffaloes, even the Pittsburghs prior to last year. And that right there, Sarah, is a very difficult aspect, which is reality to overcome if you're John Harbaugh looking at what he should be measured by and judged by at this point in his tenure alongside Lamar Jackson. You know, the optimist sits here maybe and says these Ravens could still be 3-3 leading into the bye week, which comes very early this year, 2 weeks from now. But the pessimist on the other side, and dare I say the realist, says to himself or herself, these Ravens aren't going to compete in January with their track record the way that it is and with the way that they're currently constructed in all three phases. And so they find themselves at a massive crossroads, Sarah, leading into week 5. It's Houston at home next week. It's the LA Rams at home the following week, and it's an early bye. But since we have audio only, folks, and we've already a couple times alluded to this laundry list of injuries, why don't I go ahead and rip off, first of all, what you're seeing on the screen. And again, for the audio only folks, these are in-game tweets that we're looking at right now from the Ravens Twitter account from key players that were listed as questionable initially and then ultimately ruled out. Ronnie Stanley, Sarah, came in questionable as it was with an ankle. He was ruled out. In came Joseph Noteboom, who they brought in free agency to back him up at left tackle. Roquan Smith goes down with a hamstring. He was questionable initially, then ruled out. Same with Marlon Humphrey with a calf. Sarah, I'm sure we'll get to his first half performance before he went down with that calf at some point over the course of this live stream. Nate Wiggins goes down, hard hit there on Pacheco. My gosh, that was a car crash. Wiggins goes down with an elbow. He's carted off the field, does not return. And of course, the elephant in the room, which we've already alluded to, Lamar Jackson leaves with a hamstring after this game was already out of reach. So if you're wondering what that full laundry list looks like, it is Marlon Humphrey. It is Nate Wiggins, Roquan Smith, Sarah Nnamdi Madubuike, and Travis Jones, and Broderick Washington and Kyle Van Noy weren't even factored into the equation to begin with. Same thing with Pat Ricard. And that right there is where the Ravens currently stand going into week 5. A ton of uncertainty, a ton of unavailability, and a lot of questions as a result.
Look at these images, Bobby. This is your franchise quarterback. This is your franchise quarterback. After the game, we saw him shaking hands with the Kansas City Chiefs afterwards with a pretty obvious limp as he was going around. They've got it taped up with a towel, maybe some ice in there around that hamstring. Let me see. Do I have, look at Nate Wiggins there. Nate Wiggins is the one that probably looks the most, serious to me. Wincing, carted off after that collision with Pacheco. Like you said, Marlon Humphrey, Roquan Smith, those ones, don't look too serious. John Harbaugh after the game was asked, let me see here. He was asked about the injuries. Do I have the quote on here? Here we go. He's asked about the injuries. He said he didn't have an update on the seriousness of anybody's injuries, including Lamar Jackson. Quote, nothing looks like a season ending by any stretch for anybody, but we'll have to look at those injuries tomorrow and see where we're at going forward. So, okay, not season enders. I wonder if he was also considering Nate Wiggins there. He was asked, would Lamar Jackson have stayed in the game if it was closer? And he didn't comment on that. But that is kind of what I was asking myself, right? Because that's why I said that the coaches can't use these injuries as an excuse. If this was an isolated incident, right? And we didn't have all these years of John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson or Zach Orr last year. If we didn't already have these years of history, And you take this game and it's like you chalk it up to injuries and say, hey, I can't put all this on the coaches. But before the injuries were going down, it looked horrific. They're outside of the opening drive of the offense where Lamar came in. He was calm. He was methodical. So was the whole offense. They made it look easy. After that, the rails came off. There was a fumble. There was an interception. There's a turnover on downs. There's poor play calling on fourth. There was like a 3rd and 1, a 4th one. You don't have Derrick Henry out there. We'll get into all of that. And so it's just like you just feel like you keep watching the same movie where Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo out-coach John Harbaugh and his staff. It's just every single time. It's nonstop. And then we go to the post-game pressers. It's a broken record. John Harbaugh and the Chiefs winning handily. They played better. They coached better. Everything better. John Harbaugh, I believe we're going to be a good football team. We're just not a good enough football team yet. Well, we've been hearing that for 3 weeks. It's just the same thing over and over and over again. And that's why they can't lean on these injuries as excuses. Look at this. Look at Mahomes and how happy he is. Everybody in Kansas City, see, we're still the champs. You just need to give us a second. All you had to do is give him Xavier Worthy. I can't see the stats. 25 completions on 37 attempts, 270 yards and 4 touchdowns. It's just so happy over there. It's just so happy. Bobby, the game was over by halftime and you had it all outlined. You had it all outlined. It was over by halftime.
Well, you hit on a couple things. There's not many movies aside from Elf during Christmas time that just don't get old. There's not a whole lot of movies, in my estimation, that don't get stale. This is a stale movie that we have watched over and over and over again. They have now dropped to 1-6 against the Chiefs, Sarah, throughout Lamar's career since he took over in 2018. And to your point, wow, what an indictment on this first half. I just threw a few bullet points together. We've already talked about the injuries, right? Ronnie, Roquan, and Marlon all exit with setbacks. They surrendered 20 points, 3 turnovers, 1 on downs. Okay, you already referenced that, with no Derrick Henry on the field. And somebody out there that might want to counter that would say, oh, well, Bobby, he's not the best short yardage guy. Just have him out there for his presence. Just have him out there.
He was moving the ball every time he got the handoff. He was getting yards. He was moving.
Just have him out there, for goodness sakes. 6 penalties, Sarah, 2 of which were delay of games. John Harbaugh talked about that post-game, was perplexed by it. Said that's not who we are. We got to get that cleaned up and deal with it. That negated those 6 penalties, 56 yards, one of which was a personal foul by Marlon Humphrey in that opening part of the game. That's a lack of discipline. Marlon had a really tough start, as he did. Tough assignments. Amon-Ra St. Brown, tough assignment. Xavier Worthy, tough assignment. But Marlon really struggled. And Sarah, Andy Reid and company made it abundantly clear. We're going after number 44 early. We're using the speed that we have with Xavier Worthy at our disposal. We have no Rashee Rice, who's still serving his suspension. And Sarah, they had no answer for Worthy and Kelsey, much like they didn't, again, in the movie that we watched in week 1 of last year, the rematch of the AFC Championship game. This was a game, to your point, that felt like it was over. I can't say before it began, because we've already talked about the methodical opening drive where they marched right down the field. And it looked like Ravens football. They were moving bodies. Fa'alele was moving bodies in the run game. We'll talk about some of the lack of blitz pickups and other things that led to havoc for Lamar. But they were moving. Justice Hill in the screen game, right? Mark Andrews getting involved. Like, they were rolling. Derrick Henry was picking up chunk yards. And you're thinking, okay, this is the formula for success, because they're going to have to hang 40 in order to keep up with the Chiefs today, given what was happening on the other side of the football. But you can't do that when you consistently turn the ball over, and when you consistently cannot get out of your own way defensively. And so they are reeling. So this is a team that is reeling right now. This is a team that has no identity. Do we agree on that? It has no identity right now aside from Lamar's start. But again, what is his start after today? Because it was pitiful in the first half.
That's what's so dumb, though. They should easily have an identity. An offense that carries the defense.
Yes.
You have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and this is where you get so upset. Like, we talked about some of the poor play calls. Todd Monken, what are you doing? He's got a 4th and 2. Takes Derrick Henry off the field.
Yeah.
Has nobody in the backfield with Lamar Jackson. You're on 4th and 2. My 6th grader's going to know that Steve Spagnuolo is coming with pressure. He's come with pressure the entire game. He does it every time they play the Ravens. He's going to bring pressure. It's 4th and 2. You are like making it so easy for Steve and the Chiefs. You take Derrick Henry off the field. You've got nobody in the backfield, and you have the vast majority of your routes long, deep, developing ones. I think I saw one to the left that there was like a shorter one. But by the time even that develops, there's pressure all in Lamar Jackson's face. What are we doing? Last week, Bobby, we talked about it ad nauseum. Lamar Jackson said it at the podium. Hey, what did the Lions do? Oh, they had a spy. Well, according to Tony Romo, the Lions took that from Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs. You can't come up with a plan? You can't come up with a plan to help with those spies? Like, I thought he had a plan when he first came in because they were quick passes in that first drive. I was like, okay, here we go. He got rid of those deep developing routes. He heard us from last week. So what happened to that game plan? What happened to that where the first drive was like the key to beating it? And then he went away from it. How about the fact, I'm telling you, Bobby, coming out of at a halftime, they went to Tony Romo and they said, hey, what do the Ravens have to do to get back into this? They're down by 10 at that point. And he's like, make the game plan simple. Hand it off to Derrick Henry. And then once you do that, it's going to open things up over the middle for Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews and company. Hand the ball off to Derrick Henry. Yeah. It's almost as if Todd Monken was listening. So they hand it off. He gets a huge chunk. That sets up a Zay Flowers completion, a play action. Derrick Henry runs big again. They get all the way up to, I don't know, inside the red zone. You're 3rd and 1 inside the red zone. 3rd and 1. You have 2 plays to get 1 yard, and you've got King Henry and Lamar Jackson in your backfield. 2 of the most dynamic runners you have in the entire league. Not just in the league today, but in league history. You have 2 plays to get 1 yard. And Tony Romo is like basically begging, keep Derrick Henry on the field. And he's like, I like Justice Hill, but he's on the field a little too much. Shout out Justice Hill with that 70 plus yard touchdown. We'll give you love for that, but that wasn't your place on 3rd and 1. And instead of using Derrick Henry twice, they drop Lamar Jackson back with with Justice Hill as his man back there to help. But they couldn't pick it up. And then here we go again. Lamar Jackson running for his life gets sacked on 3rd and 1 when you could have run it twice for 1 yard. After the game, John Harbaugh asked about the offensive play calling. He said he wasn't too happy about the play calling on offense. And he said he imagined Todd Monken wasn't very happy with it either. He said, quote, in a game like this, you've got to be aggressive in short yardage. You've got to go for stuff. I don't know if that was him. Bobby, by the way, it wasn't just the Ravens on the football field. The Ravens productions team, there was no audio on YouTube. We got some of this. Some of the reporters posted clips with their iPhone footage. And so we're getting a lot of help from those guys right now to be able to pick up what they were saying in the locker room. But like, what was Todd Monken thinking? Why does he how is it that in I'm going on a rant. I'm sorry, Bobby. How is it that the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, you are creamed for forgetting about your running game? And he didn't have Derrick Henry back then, but you are creamed for it. And then you go back into Kansas City and you do it again.
Yeah.
Wow, Todd. How? Like, what are you doing? I'll
Yeah.
let you in. Sorry.
No.
That was
I mean,
rant.
I'm with you. I think everybody, all 5,100 plus are with you, right? They spent an entire offseason after that AFC Championship game answering for why they abandoned the run. And I think they'll spend at least the next several days answering for why they abandoned Derrick Henry, why they waved the white flag. I mean, you want to get on a rant. When was the last time? And I want to open this up to the live chat, matter of fact, and you too, Sarah, historically. When was the last time that you saw these Ravens wave the white flag in a game as early as they did today? I mean, settling for a field goal to cut the lead to what, 14? CBS continued to cut to different camera shots, sideline, coaches, in-game, you name it. And there was an undeniable defeated demeanor, Sarah, that was all over this organization. And you're sitting there and it's like, it is so early in this game right now. Why has this white flag been waved? And why is it that Lamar, dating back to Monday night, talk about a movie that we'd already seen. We talked about body language and sideline demeanor and conversations that seemingly were being had in game that the Monday Night Football cameras picked up. Man, I thought it was tenfold today. What is up with the body language of this team right now?
You're right. That's why I think it was fair for the reporters to ask John Harbaugh afterwards, like if it was a closer game, would Lamar have stayed in? I mean, I'm reading. I saw him limping after the game. Brian Wacker, Baltimore Sun, Lamar Jackson was not made available following the game because he was getting treatment per Ravens PR. Okay. He was also limping as he left a very quiet locker room. And by the way, it took him forever to get to podium. John Harbaugh had him in the locker room for quite some time. And so listen, I mean, these are all professionals. I would hope not, but it dawned on me, like when Marlon and Roquan both went out and I'm like, like if this was the Super Bowl, would they stay in? You know what I mean? Or well, everybody would play a little bit more for the Super Bowl. But again, if the game were closer, would they gut it out? I mean, I don't know. It just kept snowballing and snowballing and snowballing. And at one point you're just like, this can't be that real. Like with Wiggins, it was like, okay, yeah, he's hurt. You can see that for sure, right? But you are kind of wondering, like, do you sacrifice a little bit left if, like, just to your point, like waving the white flag and all of that, like, again, it just felt like it was over by halftime. And it's just like, who else is going to go out at this point? You just kind of wonder. And that's not to say, listen, I'm sure Roquan's hurt. I'm sure Marlon is. I'm sure Lamar is. All of that kind of stuff. But there's a reason why they asked it. It's the reason why they asked the head coach, would they have stayed in if it was closer? Because it just kind of makes you wonder, because it didn't feel like anybody was into it after that first drive.
Honestly, you look around this organization in terms of who flashed with heart and consistency and played 4 quarters. I think Tavius Robinson comes to mind. I think Keon Martin comes to mind. I think Justice Hill comes to mind. There are not many other players that come to mind after watching this game tonight. This was a game that, and I said it was a gut check game for the defensive line pregame when I saw that Nnamdi and Broderick both were placed on injured reserve. And I don't know if that's gotten caught in the shuffle of this vicious news cycle, but just so everyone's aware, yesterday the Ravens did make a statement, designation essentially, that places Broderick Washington and Nnamdi Madubuike, 2 starters, on injured reserve, which means they're going to miss, Sarah, at least the next 4 games. Now, is the alternative that the fact that they avoided the alternative, meaning a season-ending IR designation for Nnamdi, is that a win? Yes, but as you've already mentioned a couple times, I think we've both alluded to it, would it have been any different with Nnamdi? And that is no disrespect to Nnamdi at all. Would it have been any different with number 92 out there? They called up Brent Urban from the practice squad. They signed him to the 53-man, Sarah. As soon as as soon as I saw Brent was signed to the 53 man, and again, they had more practice squad elevations allotted for him because they'd only brought him up once, whereas Zaire Mitchell-Payton, had they not signed him to the 53 man, he would have been eligible to potentially be claimed through waivers. But as soon as I saw Brent, and that was before the inactives came out, I'm like, oh no, is Travis Jones not going to go? Because he was listed as questionable. So sure enough, Travis can't go with the knee. They bring Brent Urban up. They bring up Zaire Mitchell-Payton. CJ Okoye had spent some time with them this summer. They bring him up via the practice squad activation, along with Josh Tupou, who spent some time with them last year. And so, Sarah, I'm thinking it goes from gut check time to we're not even talking about the defensive side of the ball early on in this game because the Ravens offense can't get out of their own way. And that has not been a staple so far of this year. Sure, there have been deficiencies from a ball security standpoint and a vanilla fourth quarter, play calling wise, conservative wise in Buffalo, but they've still been hanging points, no problem. Today was an epic failure in all three phases. Now, Tyler Loop was fine, but some of the special teams technique tackling and other different gap fillings and whatnot on coverage units, it was an epic failure. And Sarah, I am brought back to Michael Pierce's comments earlier this week on our friend Samuel Njoku's podcast. And what did he say? If this keeps up, heads will roll. We are dangerously flirting
He
with
did say
a
that.
potential statement at some point, guys. Heads might have to roll if this is an indication of not only where things are, we know that. That's where they are right now. But if they continue to head in this direction, Sarah, heads got to roll.
Okay, Bobby, you said at the beginning of your rant right there, you said...
Are we both ranting at this point?
We're ranting, of course. It gets it off our chest. Okay. You said at the beginning of it that, if Nnamdi and these defensive linemen were there, would it have made a difference? Okay. So you're asking that. Let me add, let's put in that the Ravens have their personnel like they did against the Bills. Why are you asking that question? Well, why are you asking that question? There's something behind that. If Nnamdi was there, would it make a difference? If Marlon stayed out, if Roquan stayed out, if Lamar stayed out, you're asking the question, would it have made a difference? What does that point to? If your whole roster is there and it wouldn't have made a difference, what does that point to?
Underperformance or where?
Coaching.
Oh, coaching.
Right? Like, are they putting him in the right positions? Are they putting him in the right positions? If you had all your players, that's why we're not ranting about the injuries. We're ranting saying you can't have an excuse because of the injuries because it was bad before him. And we don't have faith that even if you had all your guys out there, that they would have made a difference. Here's the problem, because Michael Pierce did say that. He said heads are going to start rolling. It is interesting to listen to players while they're still on the team versus not on the team, because that is not something you would have heard Michael Pierce say on the team. He said, if they don't get it fixed, heads are going to roll. Here's my only thing is it's like, say like you make coaching changes right now. And I don't think Steve Bisciotti is not a instant reaction kind of guy, where it's just knee-jerk kind of moves. He's not that kind of guy. If he were to do something, maybe it'd be bye week or something, right? If he did something in season. Here's the thing. Say you put in new coaches. And again, I just don't think that Steve Bisciotti is going to do anything with John Harbaugh in season. I just don't think he would. So in that case, it's do you finally, John, say, hey, my bad, I went too soon with Zach Orr? Like something's got to change. But okay, again, getting back to my point, even if you do make a change, whoever takes over the coaching is coming to a team with this many injuries. Yeah. What an uphill battle. What an uphill battle if Steve Bisciotti were to make a change, that it's just oh, okay, I'll take over with 7 of my defensive starters out and my franchise quarterback out. And look, Lamar Jackson may not be out for the whole season, but the way he was limping with a hamstring, you're not going to put him back in next week.
Yeah.
I don't have any confidence that he's going to be back next week. Roquan Smith, he was also a hamstring, right? Those hamstring injuries, Kyle Van Noy had the hamstring injury. He's been out 3 weeks. You're not going to get him back anytime soon. Yeah. And so are there players and coaches in that organization that's going to keep this team afloat for Lamar Jackson to come back in 3-4 weeks? And again, I'm just speculating. I have no idea how long he's going to be out. I'm just talking about a hamstring injury where he's injured when he's limping like that. He's not going to be back next week. It's not going to happen. And so it's just terrible because you make a good point. Even if they had all their guys, it looks like they were going to lose. So that means it's the coaching's fault. So it's like, but if you make a coaching move now, what an uphill climb for whoever that interim coach would be, or coaches if you just move on from a coordinator or something like that. Like, all I know, Bobby, is something big needs to happen. Yeah. Because this is something big needs to happen because this is one of those embarrassingly bad historic losses. Embarrassingly bad. And so when it's that dire, bigger moves have to be made. Unless you just are going to be like, throw the towel in, let's keep Lamar down and let's tank and try to go get draft picks. But that's not how the Ravens operate. Yeah. So if that's the case, then big moves need to be made. Yeah. No, it feels like this is look, they're at a cross. I think it's fair to say that they're at a crossroads right now. And with how early it is, that's what's so jarring about this. It is early on in this process. And they're 2 weeks out from their bye, and they've got Houston, a winnable game at home, and then they've got the Rams after that, and then Chicago out of the bye week. But again, who's to say that those are circled games and circled wins based on the way that they currently are? I want to piggyback off of some of the indictments really that go against the coaching, to your point here. There's a first half moment that seared in my brain, Sarah, when Nate Wiggins was clearly, and Tony Romo picked up on it immediately. Nate Wiggins clearly appeared to be confused in terms of his alignment, coverage, whatever his assignment was as it related to Xavier Worthy. And that was on a third down. And then, of course, it ended up being converted in the red zone or right around the red zone by Kansas City. Nate had absolutely no clue. There was some sort of miscommunication breakdown. And Sarah, if you remember over the first 10 weeks last year, what was the main word that we used? And that more importantly, let me be clear. What was used by the team? Miscommunication. This year, it's been more about a lack of execution. Can we agree on that? There's been a difference. Who knows how much of a miscommunication aspect has been a part of it? 101 stuff isn't even working for him.
Sure.
Missed tackles, all of it.
But like the messaging from them last year was that it was miscommunication
when they had the breakdowns. Yes.
From a passing defense standpoint. This was the first time this year where I really kind of remember, really sort of view that as a blatant miscommunication that goes directly back to coaching. On top of that, oh gosh, who's that rookie wide receiver where he broke 4 tackles? There were 4 missed tackles on one play. I think his first name is, sorry to do him like this, but I think it was Brashard Smith. Want to say he had, so he had 3 catches for 27 yards. I want to say on his long of 17 in the first half, I counted 4 missed tackles.
Is that 4. The one where he finally went out of bounds?
Yeah. 4.
Yeah. I know.
Roquan was in on him. Marlon was in on it. A couple others. 4
missed tackles everywhere.
4 missed tackles on one specific play. Okay, so we're talking about miscommunication. We're talking about missed tackles leaking into this game off of 20 total, which was historic for this franchise defensively on Monday night, less than a week ago against the Lions. And then came the dam breaking. There are a slew of indictments against this coaching staff, and I'm with you.
No heart out there whatsoever.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bobby, let's do this. There's a slew of super chats coming in. While we've been talking, there's been a slew of reporters getting information from the locker room. So we talked about this. I will run through a ton of these super chats while you go out and get some sound or notes from what's happening in the locker room as we've been talking. Does that work?
Yeah, I actually have the majority of what we need, so I'll be able to hop in with you in just a second here. But okay. Yeah, you go right ahead.
You let me know when you want to jump in.
Appreciate it.
All right. Just give me a little, I don't know, just talk, I guess. Kobe Pruitt, start the show off with a 50 burger. Did I get knocked out? Did you guys hear that?
Okay. Couldn't hear Jack.
Mom the meatloaf. Okay. Kobe says, I have smoke for everyone on this team. However, the team once again coming out looking unprepared is on the head coach. Either you're coaching it or allowing it. How many coordinators do we have to go through before we accept the root of the problem? Hear you, Kobe. Captain Hard with the $10 super chat. I really think that first game affected us badly. Also, the Ravens' bad defense and the vibes on that side infected the entire room. John has lost the entire locker room. Even EDC looked mad today.
I'm with you.
You in?
Yeah, some Canadian currency.
Show me row.
Yep, show me row. What's going on, man? Show me row. Canadian currency, $27.99. I'll be taking a leave of absence from all things Ravens for a few weeks. I know too much football to sit and invest into a team that doesn't address their issues and always gets out-coached. #fire or #allegedly spoiled. We will get to Kyle Hamilton's post-game press conference in just a bit, which is what Sarah just referenced. Minx to Cutie's in the house. She's become our latest channel member. What's going on, Minx? Hope you're doing all right. Digesting this one. Whiplash 4, Sarah.
He says this is the worst loss in the Lamar era after the previous, quote, worst loss in the Lamar era last week. What do you even change? What do you even change to try and salvage the season without throwing in the towel for 2025? Coaching and hope that players come back. That's the only two things. Well, and
that's something that the worst two losses, and I would probably agree with Whiplash, the worst two losses outside of the Tennessee game, as we've discussed a couple times this week in the divisional round after the 14-2 campaign, come back to back. At this point in the Lamar tenure, with this many expectations, who saw this coming? Not many. As promised, or as we said we would, anything below 10, we will display up on the screen. Thanks to Isaiah for weighing in. Thanks to Evan for weighing in. Thanks to Tony.
We did Mike. Skip one, Bobby.
What's that?
We skipped the $10 one, though. He said, so you both said it at the beginning. O-line and D-line have to blow up the season and let it ride. Rest Lamar the rest of the season and draft high. I'm sorry. Time for major changes. Thanks, guys, for all you do. Sorry, now you can continue whipping through those. Okay.
That's okay. And obviously, we're just being respectful to everyone's time. There's 47 of these. So thanks to Isaiah and Evan and Tony and Mike and Rave and Captain. We wish we could read every single one of them, but we'll be displaying anything that's 10 below, reading anything 10 and above. Will Jones writes, oh, now the fire is lit under Sarah. This is what the dissenting voices have been saying for the past 3 seasons. It's time to stop ignoring the truth. Hashtag Harbaugh has to go. Isaiah, appreciate you for weighing in yet again. Same thing with Rave. And that brings us to Rare Money.
Rare Money says, I think it's over with for Harbs. And Bobby, the team looked lifeless before injuries stacked up. He has lost the locker room and 75% of the fan base, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot of people are trying to channel their emotion and energy, throwing some shots our way. I mean, we recognize this. We've talked about this at length, and we will continue to do that from an accountability standpoint, coverage standpoint. Pay the bills weighing in tonight. Appreciate you. Dreams weighing in tonight as well, along with another one from Evan. Captain Hard, thanks for being here. And Gordon Chase, Sarah, is celebrating 4 months of channel membership.
Gordon says it's time for a change, starting from the head coach, the defensive coordinator. There is no way the team being unprepared.
Mike, appreciate you, Mike. Dev James says the team has quit on John Harbaugh. I believe giving Harbaugh that extension has caused players to side-eye this front office and the collapse at Buffalo. And Lions broke their belief.
This one I think was skipped. Nick Martinez says, tired of getting out coached. Time for a big change.
That brings us to Dev James 25. We had this one up thanks to Mike and thanks to Dev James. Thanks to Michael Osborne. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for being patient with us tonight with just this new little wrinkle so we can get to as much football content as we can while also allowing you guys to weigh in. Over 6,600 concurrents at the moment. Kobe Pruitt says, as a head coach, if the knock on you is that you consistently fall short against the elite teams, then the only logical conclusion I can come to is you're not an elite coach. Hashtag deer in the headlights. Burgersworth.
He says Harbaugh needs to go. They should have kept Mike McDonald. Harbaugh peaked in 2012.
Nate Campbell, thanks for being here tonight with us. Juan Jeezy commenting on this Ravens loss. Cameron Walker is celebrating 4 months of channel membership, and he writes, how many times are we going to keep getting out-coached before a total change happens? This team isn't close to contending. We cannot avoid it anymore. Eric Hill is in the house, gifting 10 channel memberships. Appreciate you, EH.
Meatloaf.
You're the man. I think we got to read the room on Meatloaf tonight. What do you think?
Meatloaf!
Okay. Hey, you know I won't push back against that at all if you're the one doing it. Archie is in the house tonight. Captain Hard weighing in for what, a third or fourth time so far? That brings us to Tom. Sarah, for you.
He says Reed destroys Harbaugh again. Andy was laughing all week long waiting for this. What is John's job on game day? His ship has sailed in Baltimore.
Rare Money is celebrating 1 month, and Rare writes, I seen a team give up on their coach. They say the right things at the presser, but their body language and attitude shows different. Adit weighing in on changes. Rave wants changes as well. That brings us to another 50 burger from Eric Hill. Screw it. I owe it to him.
Right. That's right.
DeVito!
There you go.
I just want to be mindful of where everybody's at tonight. I know tensions are running high. Eric writes, in case no one tells you they love you today, just know that I do. That's all I have right now. I will find something positive tomorrow to say for this game. For now, I'm just listening to the stream. Hashtag stop the 22. And Sarah, obviously, it's a great reminder to reiterate our appreciation for everybody being here tonight. Obviously, it's not easy. You guys live and die by this organization, by this team, and we thank you for being here to support this show and hopefully support yourself by trying to get some answers for what's taken place over the last week or so. Sarah, that brings us to Lewis.
Lewis in all caps, you know he's yelling this. He says, pretty simple to me. Bisciotti needs to talk to the leaders of this team and see where things stand. Do the leaders believe that he, meaning Harbaugh, has lost this locker room? If so, the time might be soon.
Thanks for weighing in, Lewis. We love your vault gear as well, as always, in your profile photo. Wes Hall is here tonight, and he says Harbs has always been the problem. Almost fumbled away our last Super Bowl as well. He doesn't tolerate players calling him out, Marcus Peters, for example, and always shifts blame to his coordinators. Wash, wince. That's what they're doing today, wincing. Everybody's wincing after that one, Sarah. Wash, rinse, repeat. Eric Hill has gifted 20 channel memberships tonight. He's bringing out that generosity maybe as a way of coping tonight, and that is courtesy of, well, that gives you this. Ma! I need some sad meatloaf! I need some sad meatloaf! Thank you, Eric. That's right, sad meatloaf.
It's like the ice cream eating when you're depressed.
Dev James, 25, checking in tonight.
He says Lamar will have a full-blown meltdown on the sidelines, and John culture setter Harbaugh is nowhere to be seen to get Lamar's emotion under control.
Ryan, thanks for being here and weighing in on tonight's loss. Same thing with Nate Campbell as well. Appreciate you, gentlemen. Kobe Pruitt says even the audio quit on this team. Sarah, you mentioned that earlier on, that Ravens post-game press conference audio live stream was not being fed properly to everyone. So everybody that wanted answers didn't get any. And maybe that's ultimately better for them. Ghost Phase says team gave up in the fourth quarter. I think it happened on Ghost
earlier
prior to that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think it happened prior to that when they opted to kick a field goal down 2 scores. Ghost Phase said team gave up in the fourth quarter. Harbaugh has begun to lose the locker room and it will only get worse before it gets better. Eric Hill showing a little bit of love for our gal Minx the Cutie. And he says that's all. Sarah, should we do it together?
Sure. I like how we've never done that before.
3, 2, 1. Ah, the meatloaf! Listen, I hope we're giving some sort of semblance of a smile to somebody out there. Maybe people are mad no matter what we do today, but we're sticking to it. I thought I was going to read the room earlier. Screw it.
No, my meatloafs are coming out angry. It feels good. It feels good to just scream it out. Scream it out. It feels good.
It's angry meatloaf! Edwin Rice for you.
He says the only positive thing out of this season is it's still early, but the hard talks must be made immediately and changes may need to be made. I think Harbs lost the locker room. Team looks out of it.
Osbaldo Jimenez says, I was a huge Harbaugh supporter, but it's time for him to go. Zach N. Sarah.
The same mistakes as last year. It's time for Orr to go. Harbs too. Still wasting a generational talent in Lamar Jackson. There are worse teams who perform better because they have competent coaching. Yeah, there are definitely worse teams that are performing better than what we just saw there tonight. 1,000%.
Trey Casey writes, love the Ravens after my talk with Malik here in Columbus. He's never been one. Lamar and Mike McDonald saved him. Love the Ravens after my talk with Malik. You know who I think he's referring to here is Malik Harrison because he's originally from Ohio, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think he went to Ohio State, and I think he's originally from that area. Trey, feel free to weigh in if that's not the case. Double H, Sarah.
That's a $5. Keep moving.
Excuse me. Sorry, that was an oversight. And again, we don't mean to disrespect or devalue anything below 10. It is simply for the quality of tonight's show. It's by request. It's calculated. It's all about timing and football quality. So again, 10 and up gets red, 10 and below, or anything $9.99 and below is just displayed on the screen. We appreciate you guys for understanding. Ryan White
says, let's not forget Harbs was on the hot seat when Lamar came in and saved his career. I've said it once and I'll say it again. We should have promoted Mike McDonald to head coach. Hashtag lost opportunity.
And one more here before we get back to super chats as they continue to come in tonight. L Boogie writes 6 carries from our running backs in the first half. Pass rushers dropping back in coverage when we can't get to the quarterback. You look at the sidelines and ask, who is the leader? Coming up on 7,000.
The leaders were limping on the sideline.
Sure.
Did you see KVN at one point? Like he was watching the whole time. The beginning of the game, he's up on his feet. By the end, he's like, he had his head in his hands. Like, no, the leaders, there was no leadership on defense. Although I will, like you said, shout out to Keon Martin, open field tackles. Listen, man, this dude is just like living life right now. He's like, hey, I'm an undrafted rookie who didn't even get invited to a team a few months ago. I'm here in Kansas City. This isn't getting me down. He went out and he balled out when he was given the opportunity. So
yes, he did.
Outside of Martin, Tavius Robinson, that's about it.
And Justice.
Yeah, but he asked on defense, but yeah, and Justice.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, there's not many stars to go around. So again, thank you guys for being with us tonight under these circumstances. We just surpassed 7,000. So clearly a lot of you want to be with us tonight. We appreciate you for being with us tonight. If you could on the way in, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member, gift giving membership, and or supporting the program by visiting thevaultpod.com/shop. Sarah, speaking of defensive leaders and leadership, Kyle Hamilton, as he did earlier this week, or as at least he attempted to do, he wanted to back his defensive coordinator after their performance against the Detroit Lions. In that defense, he referred to the Ravens fan base, or some of the Ravens fan base, as a little bit spoiled. Those comments blew up, as you expected they might have. And once the game was over, again, this was not on a live feed, I don't believe. At least we didn't catch it live because we started our post-game show and the Ravens productions were having an audio issue after the game. He issued an apology, Sarah, got up there at the podium. We have audio and video from Jamison Hensley of ESPN.com. This will be our first time reacting to it with you. Here is Kyle Hamilton at the post-game press conference that he conducted, issuing an apology for comments made earlier this week and ultimately talking about tonight's loss to Kansas City.
First, I just want to apologize to the fans. Just the product that we're putting on the field right now.
It wasn't getting on the. Hold on a second. It wasn't on the screen. Right again.
First, I just want to apologize to the fans. Just the product that we're putting on the field right now is not up to par with what the Ravens have been in the past and have been recent past, and I think we know that. We're trying our best to correct it, but obviously something's wrong, so it's up to all of us to try to fix that. Also, I feel like earlier in the week I used poor choice of words, just saying that Ravens fans were spoiled. I retract that. I meant in a sense that Ravens fans have been accustomed to great defense, great teams. Haven't been a lot of teams in Ravens history since '96 to underachieve to the point where fans felt disappointed in the season as a whole. And I feel like as of right now, week 4, obviously, long way to go in this season, but we're disappointed, and I'm sure the fans are disappointed too. So we got to get it fixed. We got to put a product and a team on the field that fans are proud to say they root for, proud to say they spend money on tickets to come to games and all that stuff and support us. So on a brighter note, I want to shout out to everybody who contributed today, specifically on the defensive side. CJ Okoye, I think it was his first game ever in the NFL, did a great job. Josh Tupou just signed here this week, he's playing for us. Brent Urban got elevated, is playing for us. Mike Green's a rookie out there playing who knows how many snaps. Tavius Robinson's third-year guy that seems like he's been here for 10 years. Jake Hummel, Teddy Buchanan, TJ Tampa, Malachi, Keon Martin, undrafted guy, makes the team. Is out there playing 3/4 of the game against the 3-time Super Bowl champs in the past however years. So shout out to those guys for what they did today, the whole game. Obviously it didn't go how we wanted it to, but I think that's kind of a silver lining to take from it. It's a top down in the organization, guys just working hard. So we gotta get it fixed. We know that. We'll do it.
Again, that audio, Sarah, is courtesy of ESPN's Jamison Hensley, who was there in Kansas City. Kyle Hamilton apologizing for a poor choice of words, to use his words from earlier this week, referring to the Ravens fan base as a bit spoiled in his defense of defensive coordinator Zach Orr. You and I just watched that for the first time. Your immediate reaction?
Listen, Kyle Hamilton is always accountable. He's not afraid to, come back and apologize. So that is appreciated. I didn't quite understand his explanation where he was like, what I was trying to say is that they're accustomed to great defenses. And it's like, dang right they are. Dang right Ravens fans are accustomed to that. And so, I appreciate the accountability. Kyle Hamilton is always going to be there. He's never going to run from the media. It was the first thing he said, so I appreciate that. And yet at the same time, Bobby, I can't help but think that I just don't like this feeling I'm getting from the Ravens, which started all the way back in the preseason when John Harbaugh said it's not a Super Bowl or bust year. And then he's even right there, he's still trying to say, well, they're accustomed to great defenses. Kyle, what are you accustomed to? John Harbaugh, what are you accustomed to? Why are we trying to downplay expectations for this team? That's what I want to know. Again, appreciate the apology. I believe him when he says I shouldn't have used those choice of words. I shouldn't have called fans spoiled. I shouldn't have done that. Appreciate that. But is there an underlying mentality going on in that franchise that I really don't think is healthy? And that mentality is like, we don't want expectations. Yes, I shouldn't have called you spoiled, but maybe the point still stands a little bit that you're accustomed to these great defenses. Again, I need to go read what he said because I didn't understand that explanation. But it's like, put big expectations on yourself. Live with them. Feel comfortable with them because that's all that we had this year. That's all everybody had this year because you've been so close so many times. It has been Super Bowl outlook since 2019.
Why don't I read those comments? Why don't I read those comments?
Yes,
just because we're all digesting this for the first time. It just came out. The audio was down. Nobody had it in real time besides for the beat reporters that were out there, and the audio obviously wasn't as crisp as it would be. So here is, again, part of that transcription from Kyle Hamilton, just so everything's clear. First, I just want to apologize to the fans. The product that we're putting on the field right now is not up to par with what the Ravens have been in the past and have been in the recent past. And I think we know that. We're trying our best to correct it, but obviously something's wrong. So it's all up to all of us to try to fix that. Also, I feel like earlier in the week, I used a poor choice of words just saying Ravens fans were spoiled. I retract that. I meant that in a sense that Ravens fans have been accustomed to great defense, great teams. There haven't been a lot of teams in Ravens history since 96 that have underachieved to the point where fans felt disappointed in the season as a whole. And I felt like as of right now in week 4, obviously a long way to go in the season, but we're disappointed. And I'm sure the fans are disappointed too. So we got to go get it fixed. We got to put a product and a team on the field that fans are proud to say they root for, proud to say they spend money on tickets to come to games and all that stuff and support us. That is part of what you just heard there from Kyle. I don't know if that clears that up at all.
So he said, I meant to say that they're accustomed to a high standard. That's what you read? He said, I meant to say.
Let me see. I meant that in a sense that Ravens fans have been accustomed to great defense, great teams.
Yes. Okay. Well, then, yes. The Ravens fans are accustomed to that. And as the person who just got, paid handsomely and deservedly so, like, you're the next generation of that. So as the next generation, keep that standard going and say, hey, I know you guys are accustomed to it and we haven't reached it yet. So again, appreciate the apology or the apology. And I don't even know that it was needed. It's more needed that the team just turns things around. But again, I just think it speaks to this mentality that I don't like, that I've been hearing from the beginning of the season, that makes them shy away from high expectations. And I feel like they should be comfortable with high expectations by now and live in them and feel much more comfortable in them and excel when all the expectations and pressure are put there because they had the talent to do it.
Very seldom over the years have we talked about the demeanor of this team, the body language, the spirit, the morale.
Mm-hmm.
There have been times, right, towards the end of the Greg Roman era, there's certainly been times. There have been moments. But right now, this sustained moments, this moment in time that we're in right now, back-to-back weeks. Yes, it's a short week. Yes, they're decimated with injury. Yes, it's been a tall task when it comes to the degree of difficulty, strength of schedule-wise. But they are in a world of hurt right now. And I don't know how they're going to build themselves back up out of this. I have absolutely no idea. More locker room audio coming, courtesy of the beat reporters on the scene at Arrowhead in Kansas City. Derrick Henry, Sarah, speaking with the media. Another one and another clip, courtesy of Jamison Hensley.
Bring it on. I look at it with a positive.
I tell you what, Derrick is just he speaks so softly that I don't even think it's worth playing this one.
I can hear him.
I just don't know if anybody can. Let us know in the live chat.
Mindset. We run in 3. Anybody gonna come out and do it for us? We gotta go back to work.
What has to happen?
Jamison Hensley's bring it on. I look at it with a positive mindset. Ain't nobody going to come out and do it for us. We got to go back to work. Here's another clip from Derrick's scrum there. This is courtesy of Jonas Schaefer, Baltimore Banner.
Just gotta go back to the drawing board, fix some mistakes, watch the film, make corrections, and look forward to Houston. But give them credit.
What would you kind of see out of Lamar, and was there any sign that he might be leaving the game in the third quarter? Was there a play where you saw him kind of slow?
Lamar. I don't know what happened. Hopefully get him back and grab him.
Derek, for yourself, is it difficult to establish momentum in the game when the carry total is what it was?
Let's try to take advantage of opportunities. I don't try to get too caught up in that. Just make something happen when I'm out there with opportunities I get.
Tough audio, tough
dejected.
Day, tough game, tough all around. It's just more signs, Sarah, that, like you said, whether it's demoralized, dejected, defeated, beaten.
It's dejected. That's why we just read a bunch of super chats where people said that Harbaugh lost the locker room. Like, usually when I hear, Harbaugh lost the locker room, I think that, players are like, hey, get him out of here and start rebelling. But whether they're there, I don't know. But boy, oh boy, has he lost him in the terms of, like, this is the second week in a row where Derrick Henry looks like he wants to cry. You know what I mean? It's the second week in a row where it looks like he just can't even like muster enough energy to get the words out. He had 8 carries, Bobby. He had 8 carries today. That's it. Here we are again against Kansas City Chiefs, and Derrick Henry in the running game is underutilized. 8 carries, 42 yards, 5.3 per average. Why? Why can't he run more? Why? It just makes no sense to me. Absolutely none. So we see it here again. Here's what happened in short yardage situations today. Jonas Schaefer covered it all. 3rd and 2, you ran and you converted. 4th and 1, you passed and it was incomplete. 3rd and 1, you passed, sack and fumble. 3rd and 3, pass and sack. You've got like, what happened to the Ravens team that finally got over the hump last year against the Steelers? And the Steelers have played the Ravens so well defensively that going into those games last year against the Steelers, it was like, well, I don't know. Can the Ravens beat them? The Steelers, Mike Tomlin, even though they don't have the record to show for it, Mike Tomlin knows how to play Lamar Jackson. TJ Watt, he's been there. He's been there for years. He knows how to play Lamar Jackson. So they played this option run game where even Watt himself looked confused. He didn't know who to go after. Against a Steelers team that know the Ravens better than anybody. What happened to that Ravens offense? Where is it? Where you use 2 of the greatest offensive threats in the entire league, 2 future Hall of Famers in the entire league. Where did that offense go? Why has it been abandoned? Why on 3rd and 1 aren't you doing these options? Why either you could just hand it and let Derrick Henry go up the gut, or if they're stopping that, use the option to get these guys to try to figure out who has the ball and who doesn't. Like, that is how you dismantled the Steelers. Where did that go on these 3rd down situations in short? It's unreal.
And as a result, as we've talked about a couple times now throughout this live stream, Sarah, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs improved to 6-1 against Lamar and the Ravens. Steve Spagnuolo has had his number. Andy Reid continues to have John Harbaugh's number. And I think I'll reiterate something I said at the top that I truly believe. I don't think John Harbaugh should be measured and judged by player availability when it comes to a health standpoint, because that's not something that, for the most part, aside from the strength and conditioning snafu from a couple years ago, they clearly made changes there internally and whatnot. Promoting Scott Elliott from within, letting Steve Saunders go. I don't think Harbaugh should be judged by player availability from a health perspective. But the preparation aspect, ultimately the execution aspect, performance particularly given up against the AFC elites like the Kansas Cities, like the Buffaloes, like the Pittsburghs, that ultimately falls on the head coach. And he has fallen short on that time and time again. And at some point here, as you've already mentioned off the top as well, you are wasting the prime window that is a temporary moment in time with Lamar Jackson and the way this roster is currently constructed. And at some point, a decision is going to have to be made.
And that's what's going to be interesting to me tomorrow as we watch people's reaction on with the national media. We did notice the last couple weeks more of the heat being turned up in the national media on John Harbaugh. But like, this is kind of the point. Graphics like this that we have flash up on the screen, where it's like Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson. And Lamar didn't play great. He had a couple of delay of games, right? Especially one of them where he could have snapped the ball. It was very strange. I don't know if what the noise was doing or what was going on. He threw up that desperation pass that was intercepted that probably should have been thrown away, but he's not being put in a position to succeed. He's not being put in a position to succeed. He was already in the first quarter having to do Superman stuff where he's running like crazy to pick up first downs, where he's bailing out the offense because they can't finish a play call. And it's just, whether it's having Voorhees and Fa'alele as his guards, or Ronnie Stanley being knocked out, or just terrible play calls for the situations. Like, he's not being put in a situation to succeed. And so, like, instead of the graphic being Andy Reid versus Lamar versus John Harbaugh, that's more what we're focused on, because Lamar and the offense isn't even given a chance. We can go back to the AFC Championship game. We can go to all these things. It's like they're out-coached every single time. But this is the graphic that we see. This is the graphic we see, and the franchise quarterback is not being put in a situation to put up his best game against Patrick Mahomes. I want him in a position where he can actually compete with Patrick Mahomes. But he's got a defense out there that's not stopping Mahomes whatsoever. It's an easy cakewalk every single time. And then when you get on the field and you're 3rd and 1, you take Derrick Henry off the field. And then you have these deep developing passes on 4th down with no blitz protection in the backfield with him. And it's like, how can he even like put on a good performance against Patrick Mahomes? Where's the graphic of John Harbaugh versus Andy Reid? That's what I want to see.
Oh, I don't think you want to see that.
Oh, I do. I want that one going instead of this one, is the point.
I know. I'm just saying, nobody's going to like it, right? Like, nobody likes this on screen right now too. And that is the reality, that the Chiefs have had the Ravens number all throughout the Lamar era. But like you said, it's all throughout the Harbaugh era. And that's where the focus should be taken to. It doesn't mean that we haven't already critiqued Lamar for tonight's performance. But when you look at the accountability list, if you will, when divvying up blame, Lamar is not exactly at the tip top of that list whatsoever. Super chats?
Super chats, quick hits. We can get out of here.
All right.
Yeah.
See where we left off here. Let's throw the comments back up on the screen. They're flying in, coming up on that 8,000 concurrent number. Big show tonight. We're glad you guys are with us. You have to help me out here too, Sarah. I think we left off with
Chef Trez is first.
Okay.
And Trey did say it was correct with the Buckeyes. I've been with him since his injury, so maybe it's actually before that. We did that one. 6. Did we do this one?
Why don't you take it?
I know I read this one, so it's got to be this one by L Boogie. Okay. He says 6 carries from our running backs in the first half when the game was still totally within play. It says pass rushers dropping back in coverage. Did I see once Owe in coverage against Juju Smith-Schuster? I think I did. Yeah. Okay, pass rushers dropping back in coverage when we can't get to the quarterback. Oh my gosh, was Patrick Mahomes comfortable back there? There was no pressure. You look at the sidelines and ask, who is the leader?
Thanks, Trey. This is what Sarah was referencing a minute or so ago. Chef Trez is in the house, and he writes, where does the team go from here? The team doesn't believe in each other or the coaching. Too many holes to address by trade, and Harbaugh has plateaued this team. Hashtag at least my parlays hit. At least something happened for you today, Chef. I think we've talked a lot in terms of where they got to go from here right now in the imminent future. Captain Hard, Sarah's checking in today.
John calling out Todd. Coach is not even on the same page. Defense is trash. Doing the same thing, expecting different results. I don't think the chemistry can be fixed. Praying for 3-3.
Jay says, thanks for the vent sessions this season. Feels a lot less lonely when we can suffer and cry together. Jay, hopefully you're doing all right. Exclusive, thanks for being here tonight. Stephen Wade writes, I'm not a big Ravens fan, and even I'm angry. This was embarrassing. I didn't know how much the fan base wanted Harbaugh gone until I listened to this stream. Eric Hill is here yet again. Why don't you read this? I'll catch my breath.
Eric says, Kyle Hamilton, humility in action. Wait, this is my last one, maybe. On a positive note, he says, shout out to my fire department, Goodwill Fire Department, for winning best overall department in our county parade. Also, shout out to the Ghetto Elmo, hashtag Goodwill FD. Good for you guys. Good for you guys for winning that. That is a positive note. Eric Hill and his guys putting their lives on the line every day.
You're the man, Eric. Mama, the Milauf. I know it's not packing a punch tonight. I feel bad for everybody. I don't want to throw a ton of enthusiasm in here. It's like fuel on the fire. King Poppy, thank you for being with us tonight.
Dude, just an angry meatloaf. You just got to change it. It's easy. Easy fix.
I'm trying to figure out what is my angry meatloaf alter ego. Give me some time to figure it out, will you?
Give me some angry meatloaf.
Christina Cerna. Hey, Christina. New name in our super chats. Thank you, Sarah, for hitting it on the head with Kyle's comments. I was upset when he called me spoiled when I pay for tickets and scream at the games, but mostly I am supportive regardless. Rational take. Kobe Pruitt.
Kobe says, I just want to remind everyone the Ravens tried to quietly hire a game day coach because they weren't confident the coaches could handle the pressure and only backed out when it became an embarrassing news story for Harbaugh. Is he talking about Rosberg?
Probably. When we were in Vegas when that story broke and Tom Pelissero then sat down with us, we tried to get some intel and then it didn't end up going through. KB, let us know if that's what you were referring to. Sunkissed, thanks for being here tonight. Edwin is in the house as well, looking clean in that profile photo. Appreciate you, Edwin. Nate Campbell writes, I disagree, Bobby. Good coaching overcomes injuries. The Lions' entire defense was on IR, and they were at the least competitive. Same could be said for Pittsburgh and multiple others. In
Bobby,
fairness, Nate,
can you clarify? I just want to make sure what I'm hearing from you. I want to make sure what you were saying. Like you said, I'm going to continue to say that he shouldn't be judged on the injuries. Are you saying that, like, hey, the injuries weren't the problem, like the coaching has been a problem? Is that what you're trying to say? Because the way you've been phrasing it, it sounds like you're giving John Harbaugh an excuse, and I just want to let you clarify.
Yeah, the live chat's been putting a lot of words on my mouth, though. I think it's a good time for me to give more context to my thoughts and expand a little bit. So when it comes to evaluating Harbaugh at this point, right now, in the here and now, based on a potential decision that may need to be made to part ways with him, to me, Steve Bisciotti should not judge his candidacy right now or his job security, let's call it, by the current state of the team injuries-wise, meaning guys that are getting banged up left and right for today, Nnamdi, Broderick.
No, we know the list. So are you saying the injuries are not an excuse?
I'm saying that he shouldn't be judged by why they're happening. Now, moving forward, the way the team is performing and responding, that's what he should be judged by. And that's why I feel like right now, I could absolutely see a decision being made at some point in the bye week should they not clean things up and respond to him in the face of adversity over the next 2 weeks leading into the bye week.
I'm a little confused.
Well, wait,
What
okay.
do you like? What do you?
Let me go back to simpler terms then.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think John should be blamed for guys going down. I think he should be judged based on how his team responds to guys going down, and that is where it's missed the mark. Does that make sense?
I think a little bit. Let me just make sure so when the Ravens went through a bunch of injuries in, what was it, 21? Was it the 21 season?
21 and 22.
21 and 22. People were blaming coaches for injuries, right? Including especially the head trainer whose name is escaping me right now. I've blocked it out of my Saunders. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you'd have people like Qadri Ishmael coming on and saying, no, this is preventable. You should blame the organization a little bit here. They bring in a new trainer. It seems to go down. Are you saying he shouldn't be blamed because they got injured? Back to those days? Like, what's your point in bringing up the injuries?
I think maybe I'm just not describing it well enough. I mean, I don't even know what you just asked, to be honest with you. I mean,
you said he shouldn't be judged for the team. You said he shouldn't be judged for the players going down. So are you saying the injuries aren't his fault? Is that what you're trying to say?
I don't think his job security should be hanging in the balance because of injuries. I think his job security should be hanging in the balance based on how his team has responded to said injuries when it comes to preparation, performance, and particularly against AFC elites, which they've fallen short of consistently year after year after year. And that's where I feel like his seat should be and is hot.
Right. So the injuries are not an excuse for him.
The injuries
if national media come on and be like, well, who is going to be able to win with 7 defensive starters down and 3 offensive starters down? Like, we could hear national media saying that tomorrow. You, and for sure me, but I think you are also saying those can't be used as an excuse because his unpreparedness was already a problem. And if he can't get them to respond afterwards, that should also be a problem.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounded like you were giving him an out. I think that's why people are coming at you.
Well, I think it's more about, I was willing to acknowledge that side of things years ago. Losing Lamar at the end of you just asked the years 21 and 22. You were without your QB1 the second half of 21 and 22 back-to-back seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's deserving of a pass.
Mm-hmm. But he doesn't get it this time
because
so much has happened in between those two injuries.
He doesn't get it anymore,
including before all the guys went down tonight.
He does not get it anymore.
Yes. Okay.
They have routinely fallen short, been outcoached, outplayed, outperformed, not only by the Kansas Cities, but by the Buffaloes prior to last year, the Pittsburghs, and that is a blemish on John Harbaugh's resume. Jim Nantz and Tony Romo called him a bona fide Hall of Famer when he was shaking Andy Reid's hand, and maybe that is the case one day. He has been an extremely successful coach, Sarah, who has underperformed in the postseason since that Super Bowl run in 2012. I hate when people put words in our mouths. There's a lot of that in the live chat right now. Hopefully I cleared that up. Looks like you needed that too, so maybe I was being a little bit hard on the folks in the live chat.
Yeah, I think in this, I think something, I don't know if people put words in your mouth. I'll just say it was confusing what you were trying. It sounded like you were giving him an excuse. So I just wanted you to be able to clarify. Let's move on. Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it. Isaiah, it's for you.
He said, might as well fire the audio coordinator too. No hard feelings.
What's up, Kobe? Bobby is saying you can't blame Harbs for a lack of availability of players, but how they perform on game day. However, a lack of preparedness is the coach's responsibility, and he's been bad. And I think that's what we just kind of spelled out.
Yep.
So
we're all caught up, and you've been clarified.
Maybe. Around the league today.
Yes.
The Steelers, for starters, Sarah, were the early game. And what I mean by early is not the 1 o'clock window. I mean the Dublin, Ireland window, where, by the way, reserve quarterback who's currently on injured reserve, not Mason Rudolph, excuse me, Skylar Thompson, Sarah, last night in Dublin, was mugged and robbed. He was jumped and robbed in Dublin. So best wishes to Skylar Thompson. The Pittsburgh Steelers, Sarah, despite horrific, weak, conservative game management in the tail end, I watched the entire game. They still find a way to beat the J.J. McCarthy-less Minnesota Vikings. Carson Wentz throws the pick at the end there. Steelers hang on for their dear life. They close out the Minnesota Vikings. They are now, what are they, 3-1? I believe it's 3-1 now through 4 weeks. Mike Tomlin entrusted his defense. And as a result, Sarah, Pittsburgh in the driver's seat atop this division.
3-1 are the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who was the super chatter that said there are worse teams that are winning games?
Would they constitute as one of them?
Now, listen, I do think the Vikings are not as good as the Chiefs, but still, they keep scores respectable just so that in the end they have a chance to win. Steelers are 3-1. The Bengals are, when did the Bengals play? They're Monday night, so they're still at 2-1. Ravens and the Browns both at 1-3, but the Ravens are in third place because they have the tiebreaker over the Browns, their only win this season. So here we are with the Steelers 3-1. Now, again, if all we cared about was the Ravens winning the division and you didn't have to worry about the playoffs, if Lamar Jackson comes back, along with these players that Harbaugh said were not season-ending injuries, could they still win the division? I definitely think so. Because the easier part of the schedule is still ahead for the Ravens. But again, that's not the end goal in Baltimore anymore. It's not just to win the division. It's to go further. And so, like, if you just want to have fun and see them win the division, you can still have fun this season and see if they can turn it around and then take all the joy away from the Steelers. But then after that, you still have questions. After that, it's like, okay, but they got beat by the Lions. They got beat by the Bills. They got beat by the Chiefs. Like, they're getting beat by the good teams. What good is it to win the division if you just go into the playoffs only for all the elite teams to stomp down on you?
Just to kind of wrap up the AFC North, you mentioned a couple of these teams. Cincinnati's still coming up. Cleveland's probably in a position, Sarah, that I would think at some point soon, they got to figure out what they have in Dylan Gabriel for like a legitimate sustained period of time, and/or Shedeur Sanders. Joe Flacco threw a couple picks today. They lost 34-10 to Detroit. They're reeling. They're 1-3, and guess who's also 1-3? God, that's just amazing. Ravens and Browns are both 1-3. Bills stay unbeaten with the cakewalk of the schedule that they've had to start out the year. 31-19. They beat the Saints. This game was a lot closer than that final score indicates, but that's where things stand in terms of around the AFC. I also have one other slide in here as well. You know what? I didn't put it in, but the Chargers, just because, again, we're watching the AFC from like a wide scope. Jackson Dart and the New York Giants, yes, they lose Malik Neighbors, their stud wide receiver, their second-year wide receiver, to a torn ACL, and yet again, Sarah, MetLife Stadium victimizes a player, and you never know if it's the turf or not, right? Kadri already put out something that I saw related to the strength training and overall, Kadri's a whiz.
Q is going to go after the preparation,
the movement, the prep,
all of that, the turf.
Yep. So terribly sad for Malik. He is a electrifying player. At the same time, there is cause for celebration in the Meadowlands because the Giants, under Jackson Dart, for the first time starting his first career game under center for them, beat the Chargers 21-18. Sarah, the Jackson Dart conversations for another time. He's a lot of fun, but big deal for the Chargers here is that Joe Alt left this game with a high ankle sprain. He is a stud tackle for them that was drafted in the first round, and that's something that's going to have to be watched closely for Justin Herbert's protection moving forward, because remember, they lost Rashawn Slater in the offseason as well, their other stud tackle. So Chargers in a little bit of an issue when it comes to protecting Justin Herbert. He's had a tremendous start to his season. They got their first loss on the right-hand side of that win-loss column. They're 3-1. They lose to the Giants 21-18 today.
All right. Well, one other quick hit from the end of last week after we had already done our show. The Ravens worked out a former Texans and Eagles guard, Kenyon Green. Something tells me that he wouldn't be the savior if the Ravens do end up signing him. But these moves. And I do like, by the way, that Kyle Hampton gave a shout out to, he did. He said CJ Okoye, Josh Tuopo. Who else do we have? Green, Robinson, Hummel, Keon Martin, like we mentioned. Like he gave them all a shout out. Appreciate Josh, who came in after just being signed. These aren't going to do anything for the Ravens. If they sign Kenyon Green, it's not going to do anything for the Ravens. They're out there looking, but I don't see how that's going to improve anything. The biggest thing on the offensive line right now is going to see what's going on with Ronnie Stanley and his ankle.
Thanks to Major Offense and Devin Conway, brother of Kelsey Conway, who covers the Cincinnati Bengals. Major, Devin, thank you both for believing in what we're building. We appreciate your support through Patreon. Thanks for being part of that community. If you guys are interested in doing the same, you can visit patreon.com/RavensVault podcasts. We also have another super chat as well. Sarah, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, if you want to go out on a positive note, Shimmy Boy has got you. Says, I think the Ravens will go 2-4. After the bye, they will go on a win streak because of the easy schedule. So most likely 12-5 and 11-6 and make the playoffs and then get beat down. Then what changes? Personnel or coaching? I could very well see the season going down like that.
Brian Kelly says,
fight and claw all the way back to the playoffs only to go out again. And then what? And
if they lay down, then obviously that's a fireable offense. Brian Kelly says, it's been said about, who knows, maybe it ends up being that way either way, regardless of what the outcome is after this. Brian Kelly writes, it's been said about John Harbaugh. He does not inspire the love and slight fear both players and coaches need to have for killer instinct at critical times. We are seeing that play out in real time. Thanks to Brian Kelly. Is that LSU Tigers head coach Brian Kelly?
Yeah, John Harbaugh has kind of become a let's stay calm kind of a guy, which I appreciate, in certain situations. But you almost seen that John Harbaugh from 2008 back, where he's getting ready to fight Jarrett Johnson. You know what I mean? Like let's just stop making everybody soft. Everybody looks like they want to cry. Everybody's got their head down. We got apologies. Derrick Henry can't even get the words out. Lamar Jackson can't come to the podium. He's nursing his hamstring. And it's just like, let's get some fire around here. We need fire, not tears, not head down, like fire and defiance and anger. Like where's all of that? Where is all of that? That's what I need.
Eric Hill's trying to give you all that and more. He's gifted 5 additional channel memberships today. Continues to pour in the love and support for this show. Appreciate you, EH. We fully caught up on Super Chats?
We are fully caught up.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging with us tonight. 90 minutes of content for you. I'm sure it doesn't ultimately, clear up anything, but hopefully we made sense of tonight as much as we possibly could. We did max out at over 8,000 concurrents, which I'm sure nobody cares about, but it means a lot to us that you guys joined us. And we appreciate you for popping into the program tonight. If you could on the way out, please like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Easy ways to support the program. You want to go the extra mile, consider becoming a channel member. Gift giving membership. You name it. If you want to get yourself some Vault gear, you can go to thevaultpod.com/shop. There will be plenty of national reaction, I would assume. So Sarah coming in tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern on Monday, you know where we'll be. We'll be right here making sense of all of it. Less than 24 hours from right now. Anything else from you?
Nothing else. We'll be on. I'm really hoping that we'll get some news on some of these injuries sooner than later, but it might be after the podcast tomorrow. We shall see. But a lot of interesting national reaction. We'll be looking forward tomorrow morning.
Look forward to it. Appreciate you guys for spending some time with us tonight. I'm feeling like I maybe want to go live tonight. So maybe you guys will come join me over on the Bobby Baltimore side of things. We'll keep these conversation moving, open up the guest lines, have a lot of dialogue. Looking forward to it. Yeah, and if Will wants to come over too, why don't you come on over, Will? Will seems like he's a little bit upset. Will, why don't you come on over? I'm happy to open up the guest lines. For Sarah Ellison, I'm Bobby Trossett signing off from this instant reaction post-game live stream. We will have condensed material for you dropping prior to tomorrow's show at 12 noon. We look forward to seeing you at noon tomorrow. And as always, Voltrons, thanks for spending some time with us inside the vault. We'll catch up with you on Monday, if not before.